Good morning. You are welcome to another edition of Import Export Platform Facebook Live, brought to you by 3T Impest Trade Academy. We'll be continuing our session this morning on emerging support services for trade customers. And this morning, we're looking at part 5, and we'll move on to another skill that we think will be very vital for anyone trying to support trade customer in this space to acquire. Remember, this session is for bankers who are looking for income and deposit for their customer, and also for individuals who want to render support services to trade customers. That's entrepreneurs. And remember, I've talked about the fact that it's very important we realize that as a service person, you can add other caps to your head, such that at the end of the day, instead of just focusing on your accounting, on your auditing, on your legal, you can combine the accounting, the auditing, and legal with something in order to be able to add value to your customer. And remember, we need a lot of stuff in this space. We need a lot of support in this space. And like I said, we need a lot of consultants to fix the issues that trade customers are having. Basically, what we need is for those people to just acquire the necessary skill to be able to get the job done. So this morning, we've been talking now for the whole of yesterday, I was talking about Certified Basic Trade Professional and the fact that it's a very viable certification program that people can get. And I talked about how it affects lawyers. This morning, I want to talk about how accountants also can come in, or you're an auditor, or you're a finance person. You render financial advisory, you're a business coach, you're a brand strategist. All these people can render one support service or the other. Adewale, thank you very much for joining. Good morning. Titi Osho Patience, thank you very much for joining. Good morning, you're welcome. Prince Adedamola Adeyemo, thank you very much for joining. Good morning, you're welcome. So depending on what you're looking at, really, you can actually render support services. Like I said yesterday evening, our focus was more on the legal people, and the fact that as a lawyer, you can actually render support services to trade customers. And the fact that, look, you're already rendering advisory services to them. You're already rendering, giving them legal opinion on different issues. Then you can extend your tentacle this time around to importers and exporters. And indeed, if you have certification, you can also begin to do litigation for banks on trade-related issues. So at the end of the day, you are becoming a trade lawyer, because in Nigeria today, we don't have enough of that. And for the accountant, also for the auditor, we need a lot of people in that space. We need professionals to add something, trade-related skill to their skill, and render support services. Business coaches, people that help people to be able to build their business program, or brand strategists. The fact that, look, we need to begin to think global and begin to see how we can add value to these customers so that you can begin to advise them on trade beyond the shores of Nigeria, trade across borders, and you can begin to add value to these customers. So let me talk about the accountant this morning. For the accountant, you can render advisory services also to the customers, so trade customers, and you can render advice services on their sales contract. Because now you are looking at it from the financial perspective. How much do you have? And how do you intend to raise this money for this transaction? What are the costs and charges? How do you go about it? How do you minimize your cost? How do you ensure that this transaction is secured? And if they need to source for finance from the banks, then with your trade knowledge, you can help these people. If they need to source financing from the bank, with your trade knowledge, you can help them as an accountant, as an auditor. Auditors coming to audit a trade customer. How do you are able to check to ensure that these people have done the right thing? Especially if you are auditing in a big firm, and the big firm really need to do the right thing so that they won't have people hiding things that can destroy or bring the company down in future. How do you ensure they are well audited? It's an importing company, it's an exporting company, it's a manufacturing going into exporting or into importing. How do you ensure you ask the right question? You are an accountant. How do you ensure that this this customer is able to ensure that he's also secured. And he doesn't just go ahead and sign any agreement with the bank. And then when there are issues, you begin to wonder, is it what I signed? And then, of course, you can help them with recovery of excess charges. Because if you understand trade very well, you know that some banks sometimes debit charges upon charges upon charges. I know of a firm that have a trade person and an accountant. The two of them partner. And do you know the only thing they do? They market big companies who have taken loan from banks, and they help them to do forensic audit of their trade transaction. Trade knowledge, accountant knowledge, putting it together to audit their trade transaction, and they are able to recover hundreds of millions excess charges from banks. Hundreds of millions of excess charges from banks. Why? Because the guy understands trade, the other guy is an accountant and an auditor and understand this thing very well, and they synergize. And I'm saying you don't even need to partner. You can be the one doing the two as an accountant. So you can build a great case to recover excess charges on behalf of your customer. Of course, if you can now advise them on trade issue, then of course you have opportunity to create more avenue for income. More avenue for income. Apart from other things you've been advising them on, now you have more avenue for income. You can educate your client on the financial implications of their facilities, of their trade facilities. When they take trade facility from the bank, because of your knowledge as an accountant and your knowledge as a trade specialist combined together, you can advise them of the implication of the trade facility they are going for, and to be able to know exactly what they need to do to ensure that they don't get into trouble signing an agreement for a finance facility on trade that they do not even understand well enough. You can help them facilitate a risk-free trade transaction, because then you can see through, with your accounting lens and your trade lens, you can see through the agreement beyond what they are seeing, and you can see the likely area of risk. You know, as an accountant, you are thinking of control, internal control here, control there, control here, control there. And you are trying to bring this control into their trade transaction, so that control also is right there in their contract. So you are combining the knowledge of trade on one hand, and you're combining with the knowledge of an accountant on the other hand, and creating amazing value for these customers. And creating amazing value for these customers. You can help them to effectively handle the audit of letter of credit transaction. The audit of letter of credit transaction. Ajakaya Alibaloye Bijoke, thank you very much for joining. Good morning. Nchedo Richard, I didn't know. Thank you very much for joining. Good morning. You're welcome. You can help them handle audit of letter of credit transaction. So they have letter of credit transaction. You can audit it well enough. You can be able to help them at the end of the day to ensure that everything has gone well with that transaction. You can audit their demand guarantee transaction. You can audit their bill for collection transaction. You can audit their standard letter of credit transaction, because of your understanding as an accountant of this trade finance instrument. Of course, you become an indispensable accountant or auditor as far as trade matter is concerned. Because now you are wearing two caps. One on one head is the cap of an accountant, and on the other head is the cap of a trade specialist. Remember, we're talking about how we can render support services to trade customers in Nigeria on the import and export side, to be able to ensure they reduce their errors, their risks, their challenges, and significantly contribute to the expansion of that business beyond the shore of Nigeria. Of course, you are able to learn, you learn the trade rules, guiding some letter of credit, so you can advise at that level, including guarantee, and of course, it opens you up for new opportunities in the world of trade. So as an accountant now, you can begin to market import trade customer, export trade customer, because you can create services that combine accounting knowledge with your trade skill to be able to deliver value to the customer. Like I said, you can render the trade finance advisory skill. So I'll be moving on now to another trade program, and that is on Executive Diploma in Export Business Management. Executive Diploma in Export Business Management. Executive Diploma in Export Business Management. Caleb Afuakwe, thank you very much for joining. Good morning, you're welcome. Sulaiman Ogunriola, thank you very much for joining. Good morning, you are welcome. Okay, so now, if you look at export in Nigeria generally, export is not where it should be right now. Export is not where it should be right now. Why? Because we are not really into serious exporting as a nation. And this economy cannot grow if we don't trade in export. If Nigeria economy is going to grow significantly, we must trade beyond our borders. The economy that are top in the world are economies that trade outside their borders. And they significantly trade outside their border. So they're not just trading within their border, they are trading a lot outside their borders. Why? Because that's the way to grow. If you are not trading outside your border, you can increase and expand your economy if you choose to trade outside your border. So there's a need for you to trade outside your border. And that's the whole essence of export business management. So you can support the people who want to go into that business. You can support the people that want to go into that business. You can also do it yourself. Sulaiman Ogunriola, Peter Omeike, thank you very much for joining. Good morning. Olawuwo Samuel, thank you very much for joining. Good morning. The Prince Tule, thank you very much for joining. Good morning. So I said you can, number one, the reason for this kind of certification, remember we are talking about emerging support services to trade customers. Now you need to be watching the trend. In anything you do, you're watching the trend. Where are we going? Where are we headed? How can you be relevant in the scheme of things? If there's one thing Africa has been lagging behind and Africa is waking up to the reality, it is actually in the area of support services, in the area of export and then now support services. What do I mean? You need to learn to see how you can support export businesses in Nigeria if you are not going to export yourself. But I would also recommend you begin to think of how you can export yourself. The reason, why do we need to export, first of all? Why do we need to export? You know, people have asked that question, do we really need to export? Why exactly do nations have to export? We need to export to be able to solve a lot of problems in our society. If you are going to solve a lot of problems in our society, we must learn to export. As a matter of fact, if we do not export, then we will find it difficult to solve a lot of problems we have in our society. What do I mean by that? Poverty is a big challenge in Nigeria. To reduce poverty, we need to create jobs. If we focus only on creating jobs, if we focus only on producing for Nigeria and Nigerians, we will not be able to create enough jobs. Do you know what Obama did when he became president in the US? He found out that for every $1 billion goods exported, there are some, I think about 500,000 jobs or thereabout that are created. Thousands of jobs are created. So he set up a committee headed by the chairman, the president of Boeing then, and they report to him directly. I think they meet once a month or in a quarter, discussing issues around trade in America. Why? Because when they trade around outside, they create more jobs. So imagine a factory. This factory mainly is producing maybe 1,000 items per day. And that's about 30,000 of that item in a month. Because this company is selling only locally. But this company now begin to export. He now needs to produce 2,000 per day. What happened? He hires more staff. By hiring more staff, he's creating jobs and reducing poverty. That's exactly what we're talking about. that you are forced to increase your workforce because you need to produce for people outside your domain. So, number one, why do we need to export? We need to export in order to be able to avoid taking aids and avoiding manipulation from the West. Do you know, for every degree of favor you seek, you lose a level of freedom? For every degree of favor you seek, you lose a level of freedom. For every degree of favor you seek in anything in life, you lose a level of freedom. So when we go for aids, we are losing some trade. When you go for aid, you are losing some trade. We go for aid from the US, there are some things we cannot trade in because of the aid that US is giving us. There are some things we cannot trade in because of the aid UK is giving us. As long as they give you aid, they tie it to some trade. They tie it to some things that makes it difficult for you to grow. Because you cannot seek favor and want to have all your freedom. For every degree of favor you seek, you lose a level of freedom. If we are not trading, we can't grow. We can't grow. We can't grow. If we are not trading, we cannot grow. So I'll be talking more about why we need to export when I finish this session. I want to start doing what I want to discuss on diploma. Now, so I can tie it in very well, looking at the diploma and why we need to export. We need to export for a lot of reasons. And as I said, if you're going to export, we can't afford to make mistakes we were making before. People have made a lot of mistakes. And the mortality rate of business in Nigeria is very high, but the mortality rate of trade business is higher. Because trade business have a higher level of risk beyond the local risk. So a lot of people come in and run away. Why? They've not acquired enough skill to be able to do the business. And I'm saying, are you a business coach? Are you a lawyer? Are you an accountant? Why can't you acquire skill in export business development and then support intending exporters, support small-scale manufacturers, support businesses that have export potential? Because when you do this certification yourself, you begin to see the export potential in the economy. When you begin to see the export potential in the Nigerian economy, it becomes a lot easier for you to be able to help support those businesses. You are going to begin to tell the tailor the need for him to think of exporting the clothing he's doing. You are going to begin to tell the guy producing maybe the soap to begin to think of exporting that which he's doing. You know, you'll be amazed at what we are producing that can be exported. Some guys are producing very fantastic shoes. Some guys are producing lovely belts. Some are producing great socks. Some are producing nice shirts. Some are producing very nice clothing. But everything remains in Nigeria. There is a lady. Her name is Femi Bags. Her name is Femi, but she calls herself Femi Bags. She produces bags in Ibadan. Leather bags. When she travels, ladies will see the bag in train abroad. I say, where do you get this bag from? And say, it's my bag. I produce it. People will see the picture on Instagram, be asking her. She has not started effectively marketing online. People just see someone posting with the bag and they are asking her. She's now actively thinking of exporting. What does that tell you? There are Nigerian manufacturers who have product with amazing potential for export. But they're not, number one, they're not thinking about it. You know why? We're not global in our thinking. It's not in our gene. It's not in our gene. It's not to be global in our thinking. Because the mediocrity of the environment have kept people don't even think beyond the society at all, beyond the environment. And this tells you how serious our environment is. You know, I heard something recently. How powerful the environment is, how the environment can keep you down. Do you know that onions, naturally, you will think onions, when onion makes you cry, that is natural. That when you peel an onion, it brings out a scent that that causes pain in your eyes and make you to cry. You will think that is natural. I tell you today, that is not natural. That is not the way onion was designed. That's not the genetic makeup of an onion. There is a manipulation in the environment where the onion grew up. That's what is the influence of that environment is what makes that onion to begin to make you cry. Do you know when onion is grown in a soil that lacks sulfur, the onion will not sting your eyes when you peel it? The reason why onions sting your eyes, produce something that sting your eyes, is basically because that onion was produced in an environment that has sulfur. And that if that onion is produced in an environment that lacks sulfur, that onion will not sting your eyes. Miki Ogbasi, thank you very much for joining. Good morning. Adedayo Grace, thank you very much for joining. Good morning. You're welcome. You will be amazed that it won't sting your eyes. You know what this is telling you? That the environment, this environment where we are in Africa, in Nigeria, is contributing significantly to the way we reason, the way we think. And it's not making us to think global. So someone is producing a product that is fantastic, that is great, that is awesome. He's not even thinking of taking it out. And that's why I said we need more people acquiring skill in export business management, in international trade business. So that at the end of the day, you can begin to look for businesses. You know, you can take it up on yourself. The only thing you are doing is supporting businesses to be able to find a way, a business outside Nigeria. You know, some people, they are bankers. They are bankers. They are resigning and retiring from banking. They are looking for what to do. They are lawyers, they are accountants, they have done work in services sector. They know how to render services to people. Now they are retiring. And they are very cerebral. They have fantastic business acumen. They are looking for services to render to businesses. And there are businesses in Nigeria producing different things that need support services. And I'm saying, why don't you acquire skill in export business management? And with this skill in export business management, you can now become a consultant, rendering support services to businesses, helping them to begin to see opportunity outside Nigeria. Helping them to begin to see opportunity outside Nigeria. We need a lot of trade consultants, individual. We need a lot of trade consultants, individual who are unable. Individuals who are unable to to grow beyond the enclave of the environment because of the lack of trade skills. Number one, they are not thinking about it. So we need people to get them to begin to think about it. And as you get them to begin to think about it, you also begin to get them to assist them with information on product, on pricing, on paperwork, on payment, on purchasers. Information on product, on pricing, on paperwork, on purchasers, on payment, on purchasers. And you can acquire this skill as a regular person, just a regular guy who just are looking for businesses to do, who is looking for an area to begin to consult, to assist small businesses. You can just, with the diploma in export business management, just a 6-month program for the American Institute of Extended Study, begin to add value. So what I'm saying is this: you can create a business in support services for export customers by just acquiring skill in export business management. And I'm saying, why do we need to export? We need to export because we must avoid taking aids which lead to manipulation from the West. And I said, for every degree of favor you seek, you lose a level of freedom. There are some commodity in Nigeria today that the government cannot invest in for Nigeria to produce for export. Why? The aid from foreign governments. Why do we need those aid? We think we need money. We need support from them. We need money for them to help us. We need money for them to help us. Why? Why do we need money for them to help us? Because we think we can't make that money ourselves. Even though we have the human resources, we have the natural resources to be able to generate those income. Do you know the billions of dollars that have been stolen in Nigeria in many years? Someone was analyzing in the last 16 years. the billions of dollars that have been stolen in this country. And he was analyzing what those money could have been used for. And we're saying we don't have money. It's because it's been stolen. Ugochukwu Onwukwe, thank you very much for joining. When we export, we boost our foreign reserve. We don't just avoid taking aids that make us to become slave of the West. We do not avoid taking not just aid, taking loans the way we are doing from China, putting us in perpetual slavery from the people we are taking the loan from. We boost our foreign reserve. What's a foreign reserve? Every nation have money abroad with which they trade in. When you import, even though you give naira to the bank and to get dollar for you to be able to pay the guy you are buying from abroad, the money that they are giving you is from our foreign reserve. The cash they are giving you is from our foreign reserve. And that's what the bank is using to pay. When you export, you credit Nigerian foreign reserve. When you import, you debit Nigerian foreign reserve. What any serious nation tends to do is to export more than they are importing. Any nation that imports more than they are exporting is a matter of time that nation will go into, they will cease to exist. Because they are not making money. Because they have huge trade deficit with other nations. In fact, Nigeria went into recession for that reason. Because our foreign reserve went down, we do not have enough money to give manufacturers to buy raw materials, and our people went into recession. We went into recession. Why? Because we are not having enough in our foreign reserve. Why? We are operating a monocultural economy. A monocultural economy is an economy in which you depend only on one commodity for income. And that was exactly what Nigeria was doing. We're depending on only one commodity for import. And with only this one commodity, we had issues, because at the end of the day, when this commodity had issues, the major buyer were not buying again, the price of that commodity went down, we could not even produce enough of that commodity, our income slumped, government could not function, manufacturing could not import raw materials. So the government spending that contribute to GDP, that enhance and empower the economy, the imports that enhance manufacturing, creating of jobs, all went down the drain, and Nigeria went into recession. Oluwatoyin Ogunlewe, thank you very much for joining. Good morning. Toyin, I'm waiting to hear from you. How far with your product? I'm waiting. When are we going to start exporting your product? All right. So I'm talking about the need for us to begin to export, because it boosts our foreign reserve. I'll be spending the next 1 week talking about why Nigeria needs to export and how we can acquire the skill to export. And the fact that there are certification programs, there are diploma programs that can enhance and support us to be able to go ahead and export. So we don't have any reason for it. And the fact that we need a lot of support services to help those that want to go into that space. And the fact that you, as a banker, as a lawyer, as a banker, a lawyer, an accountant, if you have operated in a service sector and you are looking to pull out, you can actually acquire skill in export through the diploma in export business management, and then begin to consult for local manufacturers, small-scale manufacturers that have potential for export, and beginning to do that. Okay, Toyin said he's working with NAFDAC registration at the moment. Fantastic. Toyin is actually one of our mentees, and is actually working on our product already. Our product is already working on NAFDAC on our product because he needs to begin to export. She wants to go into export, and of course she has started the process already. So I've not seen her for a while. I'm happy she's making progress with our NAFDAC. So what I'm saying in essence is the fact that we need to export, and we need to support with our export. Like I said, I'm going to be rounding off now, but we're going to be spending the next 1 week talking about the certification program around export, how people can get into export consulting and support small businesses, and more importantly, why Nigeria and Africa need to export. Thank you very much for listening again this morning. My name remains Dele Ayemibo, and this is Import Export Platform brought to you by 3T Import Trade Academy. Have a good day, and see you in the evening by 6 p.m. as we continue our discussion on why we need to export. Bye for now.